In terms of what that cure would look like, I can't imagine it being surgical, but then I'm speaking primarily from ignorance about what the underlying mechanism is. I envisage it will be pharmaceutical, but also complemented by psychological medicine as well. There's a lot of dealing with some of these symptoms of the visual snow syndrome.
Possible treatment for visual snow, whether it should be surgery or pharmaceutical, I'm tending at this stage to think it will be pharmaceutical solution. I don't see where surgery will make much difference. In fact, it'll probably do more harm because it'll distort the tissue that's being surgically addressed. So I'm really leaning toward the pharmaceutical solution.
When you ask, can I envisage a day when there is a cure? The real answer is I can't envisage a day when there won't be a cure. I just don't know when that will be. I do not believe that there is going to be any likelihood of a surgical approach to what is really an abnormality of function at different connections within the brain. I think that the changes are going to be achieved either by pharmacological methods or possibly having better methods of retraining the brain to filter out the unwanted information. And that depends in part on our theory of how visual snow is generated, being correct or not correct. But I think that there will be behavioural therapies that will help with this over time. But you do need to be able to measure the phenomenon itself.
I can envisage a day when we understand the problem and colleagues accept it as a real thing. I can envisage a day when we have a treatment directed at the problem that we understand. I can envisage a day, given those two things, that we will eventually find a cure. But I don't think it's going to be surgical, because this is the brain problem, and the vision part of the brain is something you need. So we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it in a different way, so not a surgical way. If I could guess what I thought would cure visual snow, I guess that's where I'd run off to at the moment. In approaching visual snow, I've always wanted to keep an open mind, because once you think you understand something, you stop thinking about it. So at the moment, I'm not sure where the cure will be, but I'm going to keep it as open a mind as possible, so that I try not to miss it when I stumble over it.
So I'm a perennial optimist, and I think that where there's a will, there's a way. I really think if you put your mind to it, you can do it. It may take 20 years, 10 years, 40 years, but it can happen. So I'm very optimistic. I think that this is a known condition. We have identified an organic cause for it, meaning that there's areas in the brain where there's abnormal activity. So I really think that we can find a cure, or at least a treatment for it, number one. Number two, as to what that will entail, I think it could be pharmaceutical, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of drugs out there in the research in medications that affect mental patterns or that affect brain activity is always going on. So I think it could be pharmaceutical. Surgical, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be quite invasive for this kind of condition, but you never rule anything out. I think I've learned over the last 15 years that anything can happen, and as long as it's safe, it's sensible, and it works, then it could be surgery, it could be a device that could be implanted on the scalp that alters brain electrical activity. It could be drugs, it could be whatever.
If we were able to find a potential solution, I wouldn't want it to take a surgical form or some pharmaceutical form, if I'm being honest. If it must be, so be it. If we're able to get help in any form, I know we'll take it. But ideally, people have already been subjected, typically, if they've had visual snow, to having medications that they have no business being on thrown at them, a conglomerate of medical tests that are very intrusive. I would want it to be as benign as possible if we could find a solution. I know that the doctors and researchers who are part of the Visual Snow Initiative, they're genuine, and they they're good-hearted and want to help. So whatever solution they find us, I trust it'll be the best one.